What's up guys, MKBHD here, and this is the new 16-inch MacBook Pro. This right here. And I'm here to tell you, this is in fact the best laptop that Apple's ever made. It's not the one I would personally get, but it's gonna be great for a lot of people. So the 15-inch MacBook Pro that this replaces was their previous highest end, best laptop, and it was pretty good in some ways, but it had problems, real problems. It had thermal overheating problems that I talked about in my video, and it had keyboard problems. So this new version of their highest end Pro laptop is better in every way and fixes specifically those problems. It's kind of like Apple hired a listen to the people team that's just going through their lineup one by one during the year and fixing them based on what people have said about them. The iPad Pro, oh, people wanted functional USB Type-C, give the people what they want. AirPods Pro, oh, you wanted better sound and a better fit in the ear and noise cancellation, give the people what they want. iPhone 11 Pro, oh, ultra wide is in, you wanted a bigger battery with a thicker iPhone, give the people what they want. So now here they are, they've derived on the MacBook Pro. So they fixed the keyboard and made it better. They made the laptop slightly thicker and gave it a bigger battery. They fixed the thermal performance issues, and they gave it a bigger screen with thinner bezels. Whoever this imaginary team is at Apple, good looks. You did almost everything right here. So for the most part, the design is still the same, but as you may have heard, the new 16-inch is slightly bigger in every dimension than the 15-inch MacBook Pro. It still fits in mostly the same backpacks and sleeves for me. It still is fine in my peak design everyday 20-liter, which is the smaller one, so it's not exactly the same footprint, but it's very close. Only difference I really noticed was the slightly higher weight. It's around 4.3 pounds now instead of 4, but for what you get out of this slightly bigger chassis, I'll absolutely take it. If we start at the keyboard, it's no mechanical keyboard or anything, but it's this new version which has switched back to the scissor switches, and it's a significantly better typing experience than those old butterfly keys. There's actually some real millimeter key travel now. They should be more durable, and they're just generally better to type on, which for me comes from the fact that the keys are a bit more stable. So you're back to getting more confident key presses, even when you're not necessarily pressing in the center of the key. So yeah, for me, someone who never really cared that much about the keyboard, and with the new butterfly switch, I just kind of got used to it. I didn't really expect to care this much about the keyboard, but now that I've been typing on it, I do. It is much better. Oh, and they also changed the layout a bit, as you may have noticed. Dedicated escape key is now separate from the touch bar, thankfully, which that touch bar still seems to freeze all the time for me. And the Touch ID sensor, the power button, is also now separated on the right-hand side. Not as big of a deal, it still works great for unlocking. And then you also now have the inverted T layout for the arrow keys, which people seemed really pumped about, but I honestly didn't mind the bigger sideways arrow keys at all. They're actually easier for me to hit, but whatever, I'm not a complete touch typist. And then the slight extra thickness gives it a bit more room for a larger battery. In fact, the largest legally allowed battery for domestic flights in the US, 100 watt hours, and the battery life has been excellent. Especially when you're not pushing it. I had a 5-hour flight where I basically the whole time was using airplane Wi-Fi for email, light web browsing, and writing parts of this video, and landed at about 60%. Which is nuts. Of course, your mileage may vary. You know, if you're editing in Final Cut Pro, yes, the battery life is still gonna be trash, or if you're doing anything heavy like that, but of course you might as well just plug in if you're doing something like that. So I do appreciate a thicker laptop for that all-day battery peace of mind. Also, the new brick. The new brick it comes with is 96 watts, and I know I probably shouldn't do this, but this is what tends to become like my universal charge everything fast charger for USB Type-C. So the laptop, my iPad Pro, my phone, my Sony wireless headphones, they all charge via USB Type-C. It's like the universal fast charger that just works with everything. All right, so the specs of this laptop here. We have the Intel Core i9, we have 64 gigs of RAM, we have these new graphics cards, and 4 terabytes of storage here. There's also an option to go up to 8 terabytes of storage now, which is honestly incredible, and it's not even that overpriced. So while it is expensive, having it be only $2,200 for 8 terabytes and essentially never having to use an external drive again is actually kind of reasonable. For people considering buying one of these, I'd say the order of upgrades should probably always be GPU first. The new graphics are excellent. And then I'd go upgrade the RAM, and you can go up to 64, but it starts at already 16 gigs, and then CPU. Now you may be saying, wait, this is the same overheating i9 CPU as the last model. And you'd be right, this is the same CPU. But now because this laptop is a little bit thicker and in a bit of a larger footprint, the heatsink is a bit bigger, and the fan blades are a little bit larger, and they have some room to rearrange components inside in a way that landed at 28% better thermal efficiency. And basically that's allowed the MacBook Pro to stay at higher clock speeds for much longer durations without throttling down. And if I'm being candid, it also just seems like it's less afraid to just spin up the fans quickly whenever it needs them and just be loud sometimes. So the difference is you'll notice improvements under sustained loads. So for things like rendering a large project, compiling code, exporting a video, a lot of things like that people do on MacBook Pros. So to bring that into daily performance, it is markedly better than the performance I got from the 15-inch MacBook Pro for those types of loads. And I still refuse to throw red raw footage at my laptop, and I'll explain why in a second, but basically I threw EOS R 4K footage at it for the Tesla Cybertruck event, and it handled that just fine. Part of this is from better GPU optimization in Final Cut and Catalina. From other video professionals reviewing this machine, things like Premiere and DaVinci Resolve see some much more modest improvements, like 5 to 10% at best. But an improvement is an improvement, and better optimization will keep this thing getting better over time. So why don't I just edit everything on the MacBook Pro? Well, you might know I still shoot everything in Red RAW, not ProRes. And these are my render times for a 5-minute unedited clip just to transcode and export before I even upload it. And of course, these videos are a little longer than 5 minutes. They're usually closer to 10, multiple clips, color correction, graphics, whatever else. So it sort of scales up from that. So yeah, it doesn't really make sense. I still need a desktop. That's why I travel with an iMac Pro when I shoot Red. I do this to myself. So okay, they fixed the keyboard. They fixed the thermal profile. Performance is better. They maxed out the battery. And on top of all of that, they've improved the built-in microphone with a much better signal-to-noise ratio. So you're listening to it right now. It's really good for a laptop webcam. Not going to deny that. I wouldn't say it's studio quality, but it's definitely very good. It's just a shame they paired it again with this Charmin Soft 720p webcam, or it could have been a pretty sweet little video setup. Anyway, the speakers are also improved to holy crap level. They are incredible. I've never heard speakers in any other laptop this good and this loud. Now, I don't know what that means if you're gonna, not carry a Bluetooth speaker anymore, or if you can just fill a room with music or listen to videos really loud. Whatever it is, it's gonna be great at it. For me, the use case was when I was in LA, I forgot the wire for my headphones, so when editing that Cybertruck video, I just used the built-in speakers, and this thing was the real deal. Even over the previous excellent MacBook Pro speakers, the main difference really is the new force-canceling woofers, which you'll notice offer more bass, and just generally a more impressive high-volume sound. So, to the Listen to the People committee over at Apple, a round of applause, well done. But while I have your attention, there's a couple other things that I think if you want to listen to the people that you could really do to take this laptop to the next level. The ports, first of all, I know you're not going to bring back full-size USB, but since it's a full-size laptop, maybe 1 or 2 other USB Type-C ports, give us 6 instead of 4. And then SD cards. I know this is something you don't want to bring back, but as far as people I know that use a MacBook Pro, or just creative professionals I know, pretty much 100% of them use SD cards. Even I shoot to these little SSDs in this camera, but for audio, SD card. And I know the argument would typically be just plug in whatever accessory you have via USB Type-C, but having that SD card reader for just universal memory reading would be just bring that back. And then LTE. I feel like this is more of a nice to have, but having LTE or a cellular option would make it feel like more of a complete mobile workstation and be able to work on the train and in more in-between places that don't have Wi-Fi. I do that a lot with the iPad Pro. I would love to have that on a MacBook Pro. And then while I'm at it, I wish there was a black option. Maybe even matte black, like the Surface laptop. The space gray here honestly looks just kind of like a slightly darker silver. Maybe it's just me. Whatever. You can always get more into it and debrand it to make it whatever color you want. I debrand like every laptop I use, but the inside being black would have been cool too. And then take every improvement you just made with this 16-inch MacBook Pro and do it to the 13-inch MacBook Pro. Because as long as that 13-inch laptop is sitting there with those bigger bezels, with that older keyboard, and with that not-so-great thermal design, it's gonna be really hard to keep recommending it, even though that's the size of laptop that I'm more likely to want. So wrap that all up in the 13-inch, make it a 14-inch MacBook Pro, and that would be pretty sweet. There's rumors Apple may do this around the next gen, the Intel 10th gen chips, and that would be fantastic, but we'll just have to see. But yeah, in the meantime, overall, this is the best laptop they've ever made, as it should be. And I hope this imaginary committee at Apple that I just made up and I hope actually exists keeps doing their thing across the rest of the Apple lineup. Also, speaking of doing your thing, only a couple days left, less than a week, to get in on this drop of MKBHD merch if you want to get it for the holidays, or if you know someone who wants to get it for the holidays, and this is your time to get in. You know what to do. Link is below. Until the next one, thank you very much for watching. Catch you later. Peace.